What's up, YouTube? So I've been thinking and recollecting and reflecting and just really wondering about the meaning of being pro-black, right? Especially since, in light of the recent events, particularly within Black YouTube, the pro-black slash conscious sector of YouTube, right? And also, just in the state that we're in as a people, I think we really need to start buckling down and start really defining some strong, strict criteria when it comes to being pro-black, particularly a pro-black leader. For someone who is low-key posturing him or herself as a pro-black leader. So I kind of have, more or less came up with a pro-black leader checklist, right? And I'm just going to go through it and share it with you guys, and we can kind of have a conversation, a discussion, and perhaps even a debate about it. And before I begin, disclaimer, this is ultimately just my opinions, all right? This is just what I think, okay? So, if you're in your feelings, get out your feelings, all right? But, let's get into this though, all right? So, first on the checklist, right off the bat, is oh yeah, and by the way, this checklist is more so geared towards a pro-black leader, specifically a pro-black male leader. And the reason that is because I feel like for a position like this, I really think that a man should be in the position. No disrespect or no shade to the women, but women really have done more than enough, really. I don't really think we should be putting a woman in a position like this because it's really dangerous, honestly. You become a target. Like, look what happened to Martin and Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, as well as other people who have positioned themselves, like Huey P. Newton, right? And because of that, I don't think we need to be sending a woman to do this job, right? And I know majority of women would probably be like, hey, I ain't trying to be that, just let the men do it. But I know it's always going to be some one or two feminist types who want to be all on this, men and women are complete and total equals. And I'm like, no, that's not true. Men and women aren't equal. It doesn't mean that one is better than the other, but it just means that they're not equal. All right. So, disclaimer. All right. So let's get into this. All right. So first, right off the bat, let's just cut to the chase. All right. Is your spouse or significant other black? All right. If they are non-black, right out the gate, you're out of here. All right. You are not in the running to become a pro-black leader. Not in my book. Now, in the past, I have been sort of lenient with this, but not anymore, though. I have to become really strict with this. All right. You cannot be the face of a pro-black liberation empowerment movement and not have a black spouse. That is a conflict of interest. All right. To me, I think that person should be advocating for multiculturalism more so than pro-blackness, right? They can just be a pro-black multiculturalist. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. However, there's a bit of a gray area for me specifically in this section. Suppose if the spouse is, mixed or biracial, I'm going to begrudgingly let this slide. But I'm suspicious, though. I'm a little suspicious about this. Especially when it comes to, I'm just going to keep it real. I'm not trying to be shady, but especially when it comes to a brown-skinned, dark-skinned man with a biracial mixed spouse or wife or girlfriend or whatever, right? I'm suspicious, and I'm just keeping it real. And if you've been with me for a while and haven't viewed my videos, you know why I'm suspicious, right? But I'm going to let this slide. I'm going to let this slide because, to be fair, it's not completely fair to either party to completely say that that person is, colorist, and the other person, it's kind of like dark-skinned people can sometimes be accused of being colorist because they may like light-skinned folks, or maybe in relationship with light-skinned people. And I don't think that's fair to the brown-skinned, dark-skinned people, or the light-skinned mixed or biracial people either, because it it others light-skinned and biracial and mixed people from blackness, and it also sort of um, it shames brown-skinned and dark-skinned people. It's like a weird situation. I could probably do a whole video on that, but another video for another day. All right. But yeah, I'm suspicious though. All right. Also, before I go on to the next section, well, scratch that. I'll get to that after this. And I will say, when it comes to this, pro-black spouse, well, having a black spouse, right, or versus a non-black spouse, race mixing erases blackness. Okay, it does not promote and perpetuate blackness, right? It erases it. It mixes two gene pools together, two different gene pools, or two different racial gene pools together, right? And to me, that is, it goes against pro-blackness. So, for me, I'm not so much on that, oh, you're the seed of your father bullshit. You know, I am definitely not on that one drop rule bullshit. And as well, I've told you about my familial situation. I have people who kind of like low key are black because of the one drop rule. To keep it real. Um, you know, but I feel like we're in a different time now, right? We're in a different era now. It's different now. It's the white passing people from you know back in the day versus now are two different people. Okay. You know. Also, next, I gotta really point this out, and this is a warning to black women. Black women of all shades, honestly. Um, but notice the trend, black women. Some black men can be pro-black without having a black woman of any shade. That seems to be the trend right now. That seems to be what they're pushing right now, right? Some black men are trying to make that the standard. Notice that. They're slowly starting to make that the standard now. And they're doing that in order to ultimately remove the stigma of interracial dating among black men altogether, right? Because before, it was like, you're interracially dating, you're a coon, you're a sellout, you're not down for black people, right? It's a stigma that goes along with that. But notice, black men who interracially date tend to low-key be on this like pro-black tip for some reason. And for me, I'm really suspicious when you on a pro-black tip, but your pro-blackness skips over the black woman, especially the brown-skinned, dark-skinned black woman. How can that even be a topic of conversation? How can we really even entertain that, honestly? And also, like back in the day, the real pro-blacks, the true pro-blacks, had black spouses. Okay? Now, there were some other, like, okay, let's compare, like, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Marcus Garvey. Compare them to, say, Harry Belafonte, Sidney Poitier, and Sammy Davis Jr., I think, right? Malcolm, Martin, and Marcus had black spouses. On the other hand, Sidney, Sammy, and Harry did not, right? And I felt like back then there was a strong differentiation between the two, right? Yeah, both of them still did, both groups still, did their thing, you know, of course, But I feel like there was a differentiation between the two groups, and people weren't trying to just blend them both together as if they're the same thing. Okay? Notice that. But now, for some reason, it seems like they're trying to blend it in and just make it all the same. It's like you're trying to blend multiculturalism with pro-blackness, you know? And that's, now we're in the era of like the pro-black multiculturalist who is, masquerading as pro-black, by the way. Not even being upfront with it. Like I'm on some multicultural shit. No, they like, I'm on some pro-black shit. But really, it's multiculturalism. If the black woman ain't included, it's multiculturalism. All right? And it's not that multiculturalism is a bad word, but the thing is, you're trying to pass off multiculturalism with some pro-black flavoring as being pro-black. No, it's just multiculturalism with some pro-black flavoring in it. And really, low-key, that pro-black flavoring covers up the white supremacist flavoring of it, really. Because, low-key, the multiculturalism is flavored with white supremacy. It's getting too deep. It's getting too deep in here. But let me move on, because I could probably go on for another 10 minutes about this topic here. All right. But, yeah, they're trying to remove the stigma of interracial dating among black men. That's the trend right now. That's why I'm giving this warning to you, black women of all shades. Ultimately, what they're trying to do is phase the black woman out of being the gatekeeper of blackness. And they're starting with the darkest first and working their way through the color spectrum to the lightest. All right? Just because you think you're light bright, you ain't exempt, by the way. Because I know some of you light brights pretend to be acting like, oh, this don't affect me. Good hair don't care. Like, no, they coming after your ass too. It's just, it'll be a minute before they get to your ass, though. All right. Next, is this person committing infidelity? Honestly, I think if so, you're off the list. Also, perhaps we can, do a case-by-case basis. But, with who? For me, no loyalty equals no loyalty. Like, if you're not loyal to your spouse, your wife, then you're probably not loyal to anyone else. At least, the people. I could be wrong, but it really makes me suspicious, though, right? Especially if you're cheating on your wife and spouse, or whoever, right? You're cheating on your wife with non-black women, Martin, right? It's like, and honestly, I put Martin Luther King in the pro-black category, even though there's arguments against that. I understand that, but I'm going to let Martin slide in this situation here. But really, though, he shouldn't have been doing that, right? And then some people going to bring up Malcolm X. True, Malcolm Little did, have, lots of relationships with white women, right? And as well, I think perhaps even Pee Wee Hugh Newton. Pee Wee Hugh Newton. I can't pronounce this guy's name. Huey P. Newton, right? I think he has some sort of situation with him too, right? But you notice how Malcolm low-key kind of became compromised because of that, right? Notice that, though. And I think he even wanted to marry like a German woman who was like a lunch a school lunch worker or something, or like a school cafeteria worker or something too. Yeah, but use Malcolm as an example. Not Malcolm. Use Martin Luther King as an example when it comes to this, like, oh, you need to be black. You need to be with black folks, right? You need to be loving on black women, right? You know? And as well, use Malcolm, right? Use Malcolm for, kind of like what you should be doing too. You should be kind of like following that template, you know. All right, next. What is the person's stance on colorism? Are they strongly against colorism, or do they just pretend like it's not a big deal, we got bigger issues, and just kind of brush it off? If they don't have a strong, active plan to fight colorism and to address and fight colorism, and if they don't have any sort of like interest or care about colorism, cross them off the list, because colorism is white supremacy. Ultimately, when you are indulging in colorism and and perpetuating colorism, you are ultimately indulging in perpetuating white supremacy. So it's like, we can't be doing that. We can't be in no pro-black liberation movement, you know, indulging in perpetuating white supremacy. No, no, not for me. All right. Next, the person's stance on who is black versus who is not black versus who is biracial, right? Kind of like, what's their definition of blackness? Like, where does it, like, begin and end? We can all say 100% is where it begins, but where does it end? As well, how did this person feel about biracial people? Do they feel like they should be considered completely 100% as black? Do they think that perhaps they can be black, but or be a part of the black community, but still we have to recognize that there's a difference between them two, and the biracial person has to be aware of their difference as well, right? What's their take on it, right? And for me, it's a bit of a gray area again. For me personally, it's a gray area. For some people, it could be like, hey, if you ain't got two black parents, your ass ain't black, and your ass need to get out, right? But, also, how does this biracial person, or how do you expect the biracial person to, like, quote unquote, represent, right? Because you gotta, like, if you're gonna ride for black people, then you need to ride for black people. You can't be like on the fence, jumping in and out of blackness when convenient. And as well, I don't think that biracial people should be the face of a pro-black liberation movement. They can assist and they can help, Um, I don't completely divorce biracial people from, the movement, the struggle. Me personally, some people may, this is just me personally, all right? Also, next on the list, and this is a really good one here. Does this person hold black men accountable for anything? Because a lot of these pro-black leaders lately, well, they ain't no damn leaders. These, pro-black adjacent folks who are posturing themselves as being some type of a damn leader tend to not really hold black men accountable for much of anything. It's usually either blame black women, blame the white man, either that's pretty much where it falls into, right? Versus having black men take some accountability, right, for the state of the community. Because we can't all, like, everything ain't damn, black women and the white man's fault, And as well, it kind of gets to a point now where it's like, what is the black man's responsibility, right? Because I know they're not going to answer the question, what is the black man's fault? So I'll rephrase that and just say, what's the black man's responsibility in the community? What do we expect from the black man in the community as a collective? Interesting. All right, next. Does the person blame black women for every single problem in the black community? That's something to watch out for too. As well, do they blame the problem solely on white supremacy? Do they use that whole strategy of trying to avoid blaming the black man? This is where this kind of circles back to as well, right? Because, that's not really getting us much of anywhere, right? And I think that black women have been really good sports about this situation and have tried their best, but black women can't do it alone, and nor should they be expected to do it alone, and nor should they be expected to lead the way in doing this. This is supposed to be black men's role if they really truly want to be seen as patriarchs and leaders of the black community and really want to have that position. Then they're going to have to take on the responsibility of being a leader and a patriarch, and this is a part of it. So next on this list, what is their stance on interracial relationships? They really need to be against them. All right, 100% against interracial relationships. If you're going to be a pro-black leader leading a pro-black liberation movement, we can't be including other people in like our group, because if we do, it's like it kind of leaves us open to becoming compromised, and also it's like, why do we feel the need to include other people? And that's a question too. How do we feel about black people, right? Next, military service. Has this person served in the military? If so, I would say that they're suspicious. Now I know some people who are subscribed to me, a few probably have some military experience, and this is no shade to you specifically, right? But the thing is, like, the military though, it's a part of like white supremacy, and also you are doing the bidding of white supremacy, right? You are, going to other nations in the name of white supremacy, right? Ultimately it just traces back to upholding the system, right? And as well, there is like low-key brainwashing that occurs in the military. And, by the way, I do have military family members, like I told you guys. My grandfather was actually one of the very first Marines, one of the very first black Marines when they not desegregate, but when they allow black men to join the Marines. He was one of the very first ones. My grandfather was, right? And he and his unit actually received an honor from the Barack Obama administration because of that. And as well, I have had, the honor of being able to attend some like of these like functions and whatnot that sort of celebrates it, and as well even had a couple of like I saw I ran into John Amos at one of those events, the father from Good Times, and then like the ambassador from Albania was there. Been odd and random, but yeah. And as well, I have a great uncle who was a Tuskegee Airman as well. And also my grandfather on my mother's side was part of the Army. And as well, my father was a Marine as well. And also I have a cousin who was part of the Air Force, an Air Force veteran. And my sister is going to be marrying a man who ranks high in the army. So, you know, I got a lot going on there, alright? You know, but with all that being said, I still got to speak on what I have to speak on, though, okay? Like, I can't become compromised, right? You know, I have to, I got to keep it real, you know? Alright, next, asking for donations and selling products. Does this person seem to ask for donations or sell products? And this can be suspicious. This could be on the up and up, you know, because we all need money, let's be real. But sometimes it's be like, what are you really in this for? You know, like, it's low-key, it seems like they're kind of like maybe more in it for like the paycheck versus, you know, the people and like liberation and all that good stuff, right? Also, kind of like, what is the goal? What is the ultimate goal, right, of what this person is doing and their like movement or whatever you want to call it? What's the ultimate goal? Where are we trying to get to? What are we trying to achieve? You know, um, you know, and also, I meant to say this at the beginning of the video, but I guess I'll say this now. Personally, I feel like the true pro-blacks are done. They're gone. Alright? I really don't see any true pro-blacks rising up. But perhaps if, you know, one can rise up from the rubble in the aftermath, we can run down this checklist here. Alright? But, you know, for me personally, I just think that era is gone, honestly. I just feel like, you know, we're in a new era now, and I feel like integration and Loving versus Virginia killed the true pro-blacks, right? Because we ended up becoming part of the system, thus being invested in the system. And when you're invested in something, you tend to not want to tear it down or destroy it, right? Versus if we were never a part of the system, it would be a different story. Like, when it came to like Martin Luther King, he could not start the civil rights movement in Atlanta, where he's from, because too many people were invested in the system in Atlanta. But, you know, he was able to start it in Montgomery, Alabama, because they were just so shut out of everything, right? So there was, you know, something for them to fight for or fight against, because, you know, they didn't have anything to lose, you know, to fight for civil rights. The black people in Atlanta did. Yeah. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. I've gone on for long enough. So thanks for watching. Feel free to let me know what you think in the comments section. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.